Cristiano Ronaldo had just walked off the field, a smile still on his face. Just weeks before, he and Diogo Jota had stood side by side, both holding back tears of pride after leading Portugal to victory over Spain in the Nations League final. It was a moment that captured triumph, legacy, and brotherhood. No one could have imagined that this joyful win would mark the final time they ever shared the pitch together. For Ronaldo, it felt like a new chapter was opening. But in the most heartbreaking turn, that chapter closed far too soon. Diogo Jota's life had been looking like a dream that had finally come true. Only 28 years old, he seemed to have it all: a flourishing football career with Liverpool, a loving wife named Ruth Cardoso, and a growing family with 3 beautiful children. Just days earlier, he had married Ruth in a small, joyful ceremony. Every photo captured smiles. The kids were dressed in their best. Friends raised their glasses to celebrate love, loyalty, and a bright future. It was the kind of joy that made people believe life sometimes does reward the good-hearted. And after years of relentless dedication, Joda finally looked at peace on the pitch and at home. He had recently returned from another Portugal win, a reminder to fans of why he remained one of the nation's most consistent attacking forces. Back in England, Liverpool had notched another Premier League victory, and with him on the squad, everything seemed to be falling into place. He wasn't just a football star anymore.
He was stepping into the most powerful phase of his life, where family and football flowed together seamlessly. But fate doesn't wait for anyone, and its timing is often cruel. Just days after his wedding, Joda took a short trip to Spain alongside his younger brother, Andre Silva. Andre may not have been an international name like Joda, but he shared his brother's passion for football, playing for Penafiel, a smaller club in Portugal. The two had always been inseparable, and even after Joda's rise to global stardom, he never lost touch with his roots or with the people who were there from the very start. This trip was meant to be a quiet escape, a moment of brotherhood, just 2 brothers driving the open roads of Spain, reflecting on life, laughing about old memories, and dreaming about what the future might hold. But that dream quickly turned into a nightmare along a quiet road. Sometime after midnight, things went horribly wrong. A bright yellow Lamborghini carrying the 2 brothers lost control. Witnesses later informed police that the car was attempting to pass another vehicle. Then, in an instant, something happened, something sudden. The car veered off course, skidded violently, and within moments was engulfed in flames. Emergency crews arrived swiftly, but it was far too late. Both Joda and Andre had lost their lives. Just like that, nobody can make sense of it. It didn't seem real. Just days earlier, fans had seen Diogo Jota smiling at his wedding, dancing with his wife, holding his children tightly, and glowing with life. Now, people were speaking of him in the past tense. The shock wasn't just in the headlines, it was in the stillness that followed. A silence that felt too heavy to break. It was as if the world was trying to freeze time, trying to turn the clock back to before midnight, but there was no going back. Only forward, only grief. Cristiano Ronaldo was among the first to speak. Out, and his words said everything. "It doesn't make sense," he wrote. "We were just together with the national team. You had just got married." His message didn't read like something from a world-renowned athlete. It sounded like a man in pain, like someone mourning a brother. Ronaldo wasn't simply grieving a teammate. He was grieving a friend. A young man he had watched grow, achieve, and finally step into his prime, only to disappear in a single night. The hours after the tragedy were filled with disbelief. Across Portugal, fans awoke to headlines they couldn't comprehend, ones they didn't want to accept. Diogo Jota dead. Andre Silva too. It felt like a cruel joke. Something so abrupt, so undeserved, it couldn't be real. But then came the confirmation. Liverpool FC released a short but heartbreaking statement. They said the club was devastated and asked for privacy for Joda's wife, his children, and his loved ones. No elaborate tribute, no lengthy post. Just the brutal truth hanging in the air like a storm. That silence only made the grief feel more crushing. In Spain, authorities began investigating immediately. The crash had taken place just after midnight, on a quiet stretch of road near Seville. The Lamborghini had been speeding. According to witnesses, it was trying to overtake another car. One moment, it was just another luxury vehicle out for a late-night ride, and in the next, it was a fireball. The explosion lit up the dark highway with a terrifying blast, one that shattered the stillness of the night. When fire crews arrived, there was nothing left to save. The car was fully engulfed. The bodies inside burned beyond recognition. They had to be identified by other means. For Joda's family, that confirmation felt like a second death in itself. Then came the mystery. Authorities couldn't immediately determine who had been driving. Both Joda and Andre were found in the front seats, one behind the wheel, one in the passenger side. But neither lived to tell what happened. With no eyewitnesses close enough to see inside the car before the impact, the answer remained unknown. Speculation began to swirl. Was it Joda who had been driving, or was it Andre? Did the tire suddenly blow out? Could something have been wrong with the car? Why were they out driving that late in the first place? Most importantly, was this just a heartbreaking accident? Or was someone to blame? Social media erupted. Every platform, every thread, every fan page was flooded with the same heartbreak, the same unanswered questions. Photos from Joda's wedding resurfaced, now surrounded by candle emojis. Clips of his goals were being rewatched in silence. His smile, once filled with hope, now seemed frozen in time. People wanted explanations, but even more than that, they wanted it not to be real. What made this loss even harder to accept was how fresh everything still was. Just days earlier, the world had seen Joda and Ruth exchanging vows, glowing with joy, standing before their children beneath soft lights, fingers intertwined as they whispered promises of forever. How could forever end so quickly for Ruth? In the blink of an eye, forever had lasted only a handful of days. She had gone from joyful bride to grieving widow in just 1 week. Cristiano Ronaldo's tribute was brief, yet it carried enormous weight. To your family, your wife, and your children, I offer my deepest condolences and wish them strength. I know you'll always be with them. Rest in peace, Diogo and Andre. We will all miss you. From a man famous for his confidence and composure, the message felt hauntingly personal. There was no alcohol involved, no reckless racing. No distraction, just a beloved footballer behind the wheel, sharing a quiet moment of freedom with his brother. A split-second decision to overtake and a possible mechanical failure was all it took. In the blink of an eye, everything was gone. For some, that brought an end to the swirling speculation. But for those closest to Joda, the confirmation only tore the wounds open all over again. Ruth, still grieving in silence, now had to live with the painful knowledge that her husband had been the one driving. That it was his final decision which led not only to his own death, but also to the death of her brother-in-law. Of course, no one placed blame. No one even thought to. The knowing itself was punishment enough, one that would quietly live in the corners of her heart for years too. Ronaldo offered no comment on the findings. He had returned to the training field, but those around him noticed something had shifted. His energy had changed. He smiled less. He spoke even less. In a brief post-match interview, when asked how he was managing, Ronaldo simply said, "Some losses changed the game. This one changed my heart." And yet, from the ashes of such tragedy, something unexpected began to take root. Across Portugal, youth football academies began organizing weekly Joda days. On those days, kids wore his name proudly on their backs and played in silence. For the first 5 minutes, remembering the man who made them believe that even small towns could raise giants. Liverpool soon announced a scholarship in his name. Designed to support underprivileged youth in the city. His teammates dedicated the rest of their season to his memory, with a commemorative patch stitched onto every jersey. Even rival supporters came together lighting candles outside Anfield and chanting his name in the 28th minute of each match. But the most powerful tribute didn't come from a stadium or an organization, or even from another public figure. It came from a child, Joda's own son, during a private memorial hosted by the family. His eldest son, barely old enough to grasp the full weight of death, held up a football and whispered, "I'm gonna be like Daddy." There were no other words needed after that. No headline could top it. No quote could capture it. In that moment, everyone understood. Diogo Jota was never just a footballer. He was a man who lived completely, who loved deeply, and who left behind a legacy far too powerful for any tragedy to erase. So if you remember him today, don't stop at lighting a candle. Say his name out loud. Tell someone about the kindness he showed, the passion with which he played, and the way he loved those around him. Because in the end, that's what truly remains. The goals, yes, but more than that, The humanity behind the legend. Rest in peace, Diogo and Andre. You are loved, you are missed, and you will never be forgotten.